Okay, in this video we're going to cover the first 6 months of the Fusion Slugs, going through clan wars, a bit of history and things like that. As I've mentioned before, I don't have all the videos of all the games we had, and I can't see or record the old replay files I have, so this is just going to have to suffice. So the Fusion Slugs were created for the second edition of the SEA Clan League. You can see more information on that in their video for that. During the SEA Clan League, we had the opportunity to play in the Playwell Cup here, which, as you can see, is a tournament for Australian tech companies made up of players, 2-player teams. The Fusion Slugs through 2K Australia entered 2 teams, which was one was myself and FSBenAD, and the other team was GD and Sam Lee Excel Table, whichever name you had at the time. So we're going to go just look over a few of these. We're not going to go into great detail because the videos for these on the Playwell Cup site, and I will upload them to the Fusion Slug site. So these are 1v1s, best of 3s, in terms of the whole series. So what would happen is one player would play one of the opposition players, then both teams would switch players, and then if it was 1-1 after that, then there was an ace match where each team picked whichever player they wanted to play. And so unfortunately in this game, GD did get taken out by an aggressive stalker push, blink stalker push. The other interesting thing about this tournament was not all the games were cast, so this was the first time personally I did any casting, and started that whole casting, broadcasting thing for the Slugs. So this is the key battle, and as you can see, Disky decides to try and counter me with some roaches, and those storms did more damage to myself than him, but I have so many High Templar, and yeah, he just ate storms. So most of the games were actually cast by the Playwell Cup boys down, you can see in the corner there. So again, these are the sort of games which are on the Playwell Cup site. So we went through the Clan League with our 10 members that we signed up with, and ended it with the same 10 members. And at that point, as we started finishing the Clan League, is when we both came up with the Fusion Slugs logo, as you can see there, and we created our website. So this is the Fusion Slugs website, and this is actually the first news article on our website. As I say, the end of March was when we started actually recruiting for the Slugs to bring in other people. So the first big bit of news that happened was we actually formed a partnership with Naz Gaming. So during the SEA Clan League, there was a separate cup tournament which had every tier involved in a knockout competition, and in the first round we took on Naz, who were a much higher tier team, but their boss Zanabi was, so we actually got on quite well straight away, and he was quite helpful, and we kept in touch, and I floated the idea of because they were quite top heavy, they didn't have very many low level players, and we had obviously only bronze, silver, gold and platinum. And I was like, well, what if we team up and we can be, the Fusion Slugs can be your feeder team. So as you can see, this is the Naz Gaming roster. They didn't have very many low level players, and whilst they wanted to keep them as part of Naz, they didn't have a big enough team at that level to have many clan wars and grow. So joining up with us gave those low level players consistent practice partners. So unfortunately, not very long after this announcement, it was only a month and a half afterwards, things quickly changed for Naz and they disbanded. You know, it was sad to see them go. We were getting along really well with them, and so going back from that, just after the Naz partnership, we had our first clan war, which was against HOH. This clan was a friendly rival of ours. We were both at similar levels in terms of player base. We had a really good match in the SEA Clan League. We're both looking to expand, and I couldn't think of a better team to have our first clan war against. But our first two new members outside of our original 10, and that was Crackpork, who was Protoss, and Cillian, who was Terran. Both were good friends of Zomagod Ruffle and Dell. So unfortunately, I don't have any VODs of this at all, but this clan war was 5 times best of 3 matches, so casting that, because they all play at the same time, is quite difficult. I do have the replays for a lot of these games, but as I said, I can't do anything about that now. So as I mentioned, all the games were played at the same time. Unlike the SEA Clan League, there was no ace match, so it was just straight 1 point for each best of 3 1. As you can see, the Fusion Slugs were able to take out the clan war by 3 games to 2. With Neil OGD and Zomagod Ruffle and myself all managed to win our best of 3s. But yeah, mine was quite close. It was a really good fight with Douglas from HOH. Unfortunately, Bonnet and Jajuka weren't able to take theirs, but Bonnet came really close as well in his great battle with security. For Jed, it was only his 2nd game for us. He got to silver from bronze, and he was just starting to show signs of really starting to take a leadership role within us at this point, and really enjoying the training we'd started to do, and started to throw some builds and ideas around at this point. And as you can see, all the games started on Daybreak, because Daybreak was probably the most even map in the map pool at this point. Every race was happy to play on it, so we thought it was a good starting point. And then it was loser pick. A week later, we had our next clan war against VB, which was our first all-kill best of 9 clan war. Now, this clan war I do have the VODs for, so if you want to watch the videos without the spoilers, you should go and watch them now. I'll put a link in. We'll go over quickly some of the videos really fast. So this was the first time the Fusion Slugs had done a stream. All the games that were streamed in the SEA Clan League were done by other clans and other people. So this was the first Fusion Slugs stream, which was done by Bonnet. Anyway, Dell opened up for us and managed to actually win the first 2 games. So one of the key probably turning points in this game was at this point here. Mazspeed was ahead, and Dell managed to snipe the base. Now, Mazspeed was going to drop at this point and decided to pull back his medevacs, as you'll see in a second. And while it means he easily cleaned up this drop, he did lose this expansion and the opportunity to drop. So by the time Mazspeed did go to drop, Dell had some Vikings in position and had a planetary set up, and that meant the whole drop was just neutralized. So after Dell's great start, Inter came in for VB, and he decided to do even better by getting a 3-kill on us. So as you can see here, in this game versus Jajuka, Inter was able to get a pylon up in the base with a 4-gate, which, as all Protoss know in Wings of Liberty, that was just GG. Whereas in this game, Excel's push came out after Colossi was ready, and without anything to deal with the Colossi, the Protoss army just was too strong. So with VB up 3-2, Inter tried a really early rush push against Bonnet. Fortunately, Bonnet was just able to hold it to take the game and even the series. In an epic long game between Bonnet and Alex J, it really came down to this engagement here, where Bonnet, with nothing to deal with the Templar, and the Colossi lost a great chunk of his army in this push. Marines and Banshees just weren't enough against this, and unfortunately those storms and feedbacks just wiped out way too much. So that gave VB the match point, and at that point it was up to me to try and stop VB. And this game was, again, another long game where Alex J put a lot of pressure on me in the early game after I took an early expansion, and I was only just able to hold it. And that advantage with bases, as you can see here, just let me, in the end, overrun him. And that took it to 4-4, which means we had a deciding ace match. So the deciding ace match was against Jinx, and this is what happens when two death balls attack each other. But in reality, the problem here is I didn't have enough splash damage, and I had a really awful angle, and my mothership core, it's here now, and it's just too late. Everything's dead, and Jinx and VB managed to deservedly win the clan war. So here are the results from the clan war with VB. VB taking up 5-4. The full VODs are on our YouTube page if you want to see them. So we now hit May, and we recruited our first ever members outside of people we actually knew. So this was a big step for us. We managed to take in FS Vulcan, Amazer, and Tackleberry. And just a week later, we actually managed to grab some Zergs. Which, if you knew the Fusion Slug lineup at this point, it was very Protoss and Terran heavy, especially Protoss. But we managed to grab Wolfbomb and Heyrob. So the next thing that happened was, for myself personally, the crowning moment of my StarCraft 2 career for the Slugs. I managed to take home the GBD Open. At this point, I was a high-level platinum player. I was really close to diamond. Now, the most interesting part about this run is basically what happened after this with the players I played. So in the round of 16, I played a diamond Terran player who was called Face at the time, and he ended up joining our clan right after this and became captain, which none of the Slugs will very much really well know. And we talked during the game a little bit, we're just being friendly and stuff, and then after the game we were chatting, and I'd mentioned I ran a clan and stuff like that, and yeah, thankfully he joined us and he became a really great member for the clan. Very helpful to the other members, and this is another reason why it was a really big moment for us. In typical captain style, he dropped the hell out of me in the best of one, and I only just managed to hold on and get a Colossi count up, which he couldn't counter. I think this is one of the only times I ever beat him. Every other game after this point, he would ruffle stomp me. So the quarterfinal was against a gold level Protoss. He beat a diamond level Protoss in the previous round. Now PvP, especially in Wings of Liberty, was a bit of a coin flip, and his 4-gate was really good, which is probably why he beat the Protoss in the best of one. But by this stage, I had played a lot against 4-gate and had got my defense really strong against it, so I was able to hold both his 4-gates and win 2-0. The semi-final was against QWERTY. Now, again, this is another Terran player who ended up joining us, and again was another great addition to our team. He was really friendly, really passionate about helping the lower level players, and again, I reckon this was one of the only times I ever beat him. He was a really good player, like captain. Both of them, I have so much respect for both of those two. They were so good and so friendly. The first game was a massive macro game, and he made one mistake, which was leaving his medevacs a little bit too far away from his army, and I was able to snipe almost all of them. And once that happened, I just pushed and won the game, and that was so unfortunate for him. In game 2, he was very aggressive, and I only just held it, and then I panicked and thought I had to do damage, which was a huge mistake, and he wiped me. The final game, I tried out my 4-gate blink, which a lot of slugs will know that was really strong. It was probably my strongest build at the time, and yeah, because he early expanded, it put him really far behind, and even though he played really well, he was just so far behind that I was able to take the win. And the final was a PvP versus MGG Ali. He was called, and he named himself to Alpha. This is a great series. I remember this one so vividly as well. And he's another great guy. He was so friendly, and I talked a lot about builds with him and things like that. And I was really happy to see him hit GM later on, which actually Captain and Quody both did as well. The interesting thing was he did a Nexus first in the first game, and I didn't know what he was doing. I saw his pylon, he had no gateway, and I panicked, and I assumed cannon rush, I assumed proxy gates, I searched everywhere, and I spent so much time searching for what he was doing and getting ready to defend against it that I was so far behind, and yeah, he just crushed me. Game 2, he went Blink Stalkers and DT pressure, and I was in deep trouble, but I got DTs out into his base, which he had nothing for, and it did so much damage that he was so far behind that I was able to take that game. Game 3, he did a 4-gate. He faked his second gas. He took the second gas and didn't use it, and so I didn't think it was a 4-gate. I didn't look for the pylon. He got the pylon in my main and killed me. And we got to game 4, and I was like, "Geez, this guy is so clever." And I'm not reading him at all. But in game 4 he did a 4-gate, which I actually confirmed was a 4-gate, and I was able to hold it. My defense against 4-gate is quite strong, so I was able to hold it, and that meant we went to the decider. And the final game, he decided to Nexus first again, but I predicted it this time. I saw no gateway, no forge, and I was like, well, he might cannon rush me, but I don't think he's gonna. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna just pylon block his Nexus, just in case he goes Nexus first, and then I'll worry about the shenanigans. And it turns out I predicted his play perfectly. And then he tried to cannon rush me, but yeah, I had enough to hold that, so I took the win. Anyway, that was a lot of talking, but I'd love to have the ability to show you the games from this, because some of them games were really good, really close games. So shortly after that, we took on Tor in a best of 9 clan war. Now this game, again, I had the VODs for, so they're on our YouTube page, so if you want to check them out, go do that and then come back to this. So this clan war was Crackpork's first game for us, his first competitive game, and unfortunately he had to take on a gold Zerg. The game actually ended up going a lot longer, but Sweeper was just so far ahead, had map control, and Crackpork did really well to last as long as he did. So NeoGD almost managed to take out Sweeper in this game, but there was just a little bit too much Zerg here, and he lost these tanks, but it was super close. Our savior Dell came in, and Banshee harassed Sweeper to death, basically. The Banshees did so much damage. So then came probably the game of the night, where from this position you think Dell has no chance to win. But Dell comes back. Why? Because, again, he dropped. His defensive position was quite good, and he constantly dropped and destroyed factories, which meant that even though Blood Mist was quite ahead, all he could build was Marines and Medivacs, and Dell had the tank advantage. So Tor Serpent decides to siege the base of Dell, not wanting to go into the planetary. So Dell decides he's just going to drop his entire base. And here you can see, after taking out the natural, Dell drops the main. And there is so much here for Dell that Serpent just cannot survive. And he has his defensive positioning up with bunkers and siege tanks here. So having watched all of those games, the Pandarine decides to do the thing to stop Dell is build lots of missile turrets. So Game 7 saw another debut. It saw FSVulcan have his first game for the Slugs against the Pandarine. And he did a very quick push here. The only unfortunate thing was the Pandarine is very ready for it. It was a very long game, and both Jajuka and the Pandarine exchanged lots of units. Unfortunately, this moment here, where the Pandarine was able to catch a lot of the Archons, was really the beginning of the end for Jajuka. So as we can see here, despite Dell's 3-kill, Sweeper and the Pandarine were too good and gave Tor a 5-3 win over the Fusion Slugs. So we now hit June, and our first internal tournament started. The VODs and for that are all on our YouTube page as a whole playlist as well, so you can go check that out. And we had 5 new Fusion Slugs this week. The first one also brought our first major controversy to the team. We'll go through that in a second, but we had Crypt, Dance Party, Princess, Eagle, and Esk. We were becoming a good sized clan, which was exciting for us. We're still very BSG heavy, but we had quite a few platinums now, and some of them were starting to get up. Captain was diamond, and so I don't really want to spotlight bad things too much, but I wanted to just touch on it anyway. So we had an incident with Crypt not long after this. To his credit, Crypt was quite good about it all. I still don't know to this day if everything was true, but I mean, I like to take my players at their word. The level of the insults to the admins of the community were too bad, and I just couldn't let him stay. I mean, as a clan leader, you get situations which are really hard to deal with, and I didn't want to tarnish all the efforts of the other players in our clan because of one other. Going back to good news is we had our first Masters player in middle of June when Season 8 started, with Captain managing to hit the rank. So shortly after this we had our Gold Platinum Clan War against QED, all kill best of 9. Unfortunately, I don't have any videos of this series, so we're just going to have to talk about the games. Alright, so here's the results for the Clan War. As you can see, the Fusion Slugs managed to win 5 games to 3, which was a huge result for us. Jajuka started off for us and unfortunately continued his streak of not winning a game for the clan, which I could tell you was starting to get him really annoyed at this point. Then Zoma Godruffle managed to take it back to 1-1, managed to beat the Platinum Protoss before losing to the Gold Protoss Denial in Entombed Valley, which was a good game. Then Esk managed to take it back to 2-2 in his first competitive outing for the Slugs. And then Atsi came out for QED and made it 3-3. So no one was really getting on any sort of roll at this point. Oh, sorry, 3-2. And so then Vulcan came out, who had just hit Platinum, and managed to take his first win in Slug colours, defeating Atsi. And after that, he was able to take out both Tor Bloodmist, who just joined them, and then win the final game against, I don't know how to say this name, but Laios, I guess, Laios, on Daybreak, getting the 3-kill to give us the 5-3 win. So just a week later, new clan Team Knight challenged us to a series of bronze, silver, gold games. We had over 2 nights with players able to play on each night. We just wanted to get as many games in as we could. So we ended up having 9 best of 3 matches over the 2 days. Again, I don't have VODs for this. I have replays, but yeah. So as you can see here, Team Knight managed to take a 5-4 win in a very close series with a lot of great games. The first game there was between Moonbear and Neo OGD. Every game started on Daybreak and then it was loser's choice. So Moonbear managed to take the win on Daybreak and Antigua. Cillian won game 1 on Daybreak, but then Crux Fate won on Tal'Darim, Altar and Antigua. So Skywolf took the game on Daybreak, and then our new member Limited Flux was able to take the win on Entomb Valley before the final game on Chikura's Plateau going to Skywolf. Then Jujuka finally got his first win in clan colours, and not only that, he took the series 2-1. He won on Daybreak, lost on Cloud Kingdom, and won on Ohana. And another new member, Kez, managed to win 2-0, winning on Daybreak and Ohana. So on day 2, as I said, the players could play again, and unfortunately Zomagod Roffle went down 2-0, losing on Daybreak and Antigua. Cillian managed to win 2-0 against Skywolf, again winning on the exact same 2 maps. Wolfbomb made his competitive debut for the Slugs, but went down 2-0 on, again, Daybreak and Antigua. And then Jujuka managed to back up his Tuesday night effort with another 2-0 win, winning on Daybreak and Metalopolis. I do have a little bit of insight on the final game from Jujuka. In the first game, he did a Forge Fast expand into a 3-base Mothership Deathball against a Stefano Roach style play from Anubis, and eventually Roach corrupt a Broodlord. So that would have been a long game with probably an Archon Toilet, if you remember those. And in game 2, Anubis did heavy Ling Plane, either for a Baneling Bust or 2-base Muto, he wasn't sure, but Jujuka 4-gated him. If you know Jujuka, that's not very uncommon. And yeah, managed a very quick win there. So to wrap up, with this final bit of news, after the Clan War and the debuts of Kez, Cillian, Wolfbomb and Limited Flux, we got a few new recruits. Knots was one, who was also known as Rhythmatic on HOH, so he was a really good pickup for us. Jungle Ned and Binchamin. I started organising the first and so far only Fusion Slugs clan tournament. Thank you for watching this video. I hope it was interesting. Please let me know if it is or not. I like to explain a lot about what happened, but yeah, thank you to all our slugs for all the time they put in. Thank you to the community for all the help they gave us, all the love, all the support. And yeah, until next time.